Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited. See mintmobile.com for details.
For over 50 years, Burlington's legacy has been great deals on coats for all weather conditions. So before you're caught unprepared for the winter weather, head to Burlington for name brands, quality items, and surprising fits for every family member. Stock up on coats, sweaters, and accessories before the cold hits, so you can finally stop avoiding the elements and start living comfortably. Warm up at your nearest Burlington location less than 1 mile away. Burlington. Deals, brands, wow.
"964 sightings of SUV-sized drones have been recorded across New Jersey, some of which have even been over critical military infrastructure." This heat map
Woo boy. That breathless TikTok comes courtesy of the British tabloid The Daily Mail. This next one is from former Real Housewife Bethany Frankel.
So this is unsettling. It's the upside down. One party that I just spoke to saw 4 aircrafts in Monmouth County, Monmouth Beaches, New Jersey, and 1 was a plane and 3 were drones flying low, gigantic.
Over the last few weeks, people all over New Jersey have become obsessed with drones, or what they say are drones. Things, lights, items in the sky at night.
I've never seen them. Wow, they just passed each other. Yeah, I've never seen them before.
New Jersey Senator Andy Kim went out on patrol with local cops and saw something flying around. Former Maryland Governor Larry Hogan posted his own sighting on X and urged the government to take the issue seriously. Though what Hogan saw turned out to be the constellation Orion, which, as far as I know, has been there for millions of years. We decided to do some very serious investigative journalism.
Okay, this is Ben Mathis-Lilly, Slate staff writer, reporting from Maplewood, New Jersey, about 5 miles from the Newark airport. So, the bad news drone-wise is that it's raining, and it's very overcast, and I can't really see anything in the sky. So...
Various government agencies have repeatedly said that nothing dangerous is happening. Nevertheless, there have been reports that people are now sending up drones to check on the supposed other drones. On Thursday, the FAA issued a temporary flight restriction banning drones from flying over, quote, critical New Jersey infrastructure until mid-January. In light of all of this, we wanted to understand what makes it so easy for lots of people to believe that something nefarious is going on. So I called up the best aviation journalist I know. Jon, can you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Absolutely. I'm Jon Ostrower. I'm editor-in-chief of The Air Current.
Jon has been covering aviation for 17 years, and he's broken countless stories, including lots about Boeing. You've heard him on this show a number of times. Your site covers, like, everything aviation. Are you guys even covering this?
We're watching it. We're watching it. So we're also, we're a small team. So we have to really pick our battles. But fundamentally, this is one of those things where we're looking at kind of what the developments are, and we're seeing people post genuinely, vaguely psychotic takes on where we are right now. People that should know better. And it just kind of causes a froth. And we're anti-froth.
So today on the show, no froth, no conspiracies, and some actual answers about what people are seeing when they look up. I'm Lizzie O'Leary, and you're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. The truth is out there. It's always nice to get more for less. So here's a life hack that can automatically put some extra cash in your pocket. Discover will automatically double all the cash back you've earned on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cashback Match. So you could get some money for this holiday season and get more next holiday season. It pays to Discover. See terms at discover.com/creditcard. Running a small business means you're wearing a lot of hats. Your personal phone becomes your business phone, but as your team grows, that's impossible to manage. That's where OpenPhone comes in. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system. They'll help you separate your personal life from your growing business. It's affordable and easy to use. For just $15 a month, you get visibility into everything happening with your business phone number. OpenPhone works through an app. They use AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, and if you miss a call, automated messages are sent directly to your customer. Whether you're a one-person operation and need help managing calls automatically, or have a large team and need better tools for efficient collaboration, OpenPhone is a no-brainer. Right now, OpenPhone is offering 20% off of your first 6 months when you go to openphone.com/TBD. That's openphone.com/TBD for 20% off 6 months. Openphone.com/TBD. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. So you have all these people on the ground. They go outside. A lot of them are in New Jersey. Some of them include senators, governors, etc. They are speculating about what drones, in their words, are doing all over the East Coast. You are not concerned. Tell me why.
I think it's important to remember that the sky has changed in the last 10 years. We spent a lot of time inside. Yes, the pandemic, yes, all of that. We spent a lot of time looking down at our phones, we're distracted by what's going on around us, just, living life. And so when people look up and they see things happening around them that may be either unfamiliar or they just haven't spent a lot of time realizing that the sky also does play tricks on you in terms of perception and depth perception and angles and all kinds of different things. So what happened in the last 10 years? So number one, there are a lot of drones. Like commercial drones, like what you can get for under $1,000, way under $1,000 to fly in your backyard, is really incredible. Battery technology has allowed that to happen. Quadcopters. There's been initial delivery trials with Amazon in various parts of the country, actually delivering small parcels, and there's been a huge push in that direction. So the sky at a low altitude is more crowded. But when you kind of step back from that, you go way up high. The other thing that's happened is there are like 6,000 more satellites in orbit than there were, like 5 or 10 years ago. And yes, Elon Musk and Starlink was where that kind of happened.
Oh my God, there's always an Elon Musk angle.
You know what? Here we are. But it's true. 6,764 Starlink satellites in orbit as of a few weeks ago, which is an incredible number. And by the way, that's like doubled the number of satellites. There is a space economy that's being created. But here's the thing. Putting 6,764 Starlink satellites in orbit also changes what the sky looks like. They are flying around in, what these call them trains, effectively, of satellites that are going around the Earth at again, orbiting once every 90 minutes. And there are just thousands of them. And so it drives astronomers crazy because we're now putting pollution and light pollution in front of, the sky and the incredible universe that we exist in the Milky Way galaxy. But it's also changed what we see. And so that's at a really, really high level. I think a lot of people are seeing those for the first time and realizing that the critical mass of satellites that are now in low Earth orbit is beginning to affect the view and also our perception of what's going on up there. And I would just add one more piece, which is that the number of flights and the amount of flying we're doing since the pandemic has not only rebound, but it's actually more than where we were before. So in a place like New Jersey, which yes is in the middle of probably one of the busiest air corridors in all of the world, you're also just going to see more airplanes.
So you've got people basically looking at airplanes, satellites, and some drones.
Yeah. And I know that the people are seeing drones, right? The question is, are they nefarious? Are they coordinated? Is there something more to all of this?
Part of the reason for the conspiratorial mindset is that while regulators have mostly kept up with the ballooning number of things in the sky, they don't always have clear answers or easy directives.
One of the big challenges that the FAA has faced is putting what is ostensibly a proliferation of drone operators in with a regular, airspace environment, while there are regular-sized airplanes, crewed airplanes going in and out of airports all over the country.
Have they caused trouble, drones?
One of the things that the FAA and safety officials have been worried about for a long time is the effect. We had bird strikes for since as long as there's been flying, right? But that same idea kind of plays here, which is that they're also worried about airplanes running into drones and people not flying them where and when they're supposed to. And so, yes, there are restrictions on where you can fly them. A lot of the new software for running these drones actually takes into account the regulations of where you're flying them. So it literally won't let you go past a certain altitude. There are certain restrictions and, kind of no-go zones baked in. So there's those kind of, guardrails. Certainly there are people who, more or less can get around those, and just by virtue of if you create a barrier, people will find a way around it. But more and more it's baked into the software. But yes, there are dedicated regulations which are around altitude and lighting and all of that. And that is something that we have seen with how drones are just operating in the world right now, in the US.
When we come back, guess what? It's all going to get worse. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy. Just drop in some details about yourself and see if you're eligible to save money when you bundle your home and auto policies. The process only takes minutes, and it could mean hundreds more in your pocket. Visit Progressive.com after this episode to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states. The ever-increasing tools professionals are expected to use to improve efficiency are actually causing their work to be fragmented and exhausting. It's also costing your business. Grammarly delivers a consistent communication experience across your organization's ecosystem, so roadblocks at work get unblocked. Best of all, it only takes days to implement, no IT overhead required, so you can unify your team and see results right away. Grammarly unifies your team's voice across platforms. It works seamlessly across over 500,000 web and desktop apps, so all the tools your team uses will work better for your business. When every word your team writes is clear, concise, and on brand, everything gets better. Teams that communicate better with Grammarly report 66% less time spent editing marketing content and 70% improved brand compliance across the company, saving 19 days per year per employee. Equip your team with the gold standard of responsible AI. Join 70,000 teams and 30 million people who trust Grammarly to work faster everywhere they communicate. Go to Grammarly.com/enterprise to learn more. Grammarly, enterprise-ready AI.
This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today? Smart choice. Progressive loves to help people make smart choices. And that's why they offer a tool called Auto Quote Explorer that allows you to compare your Progressive car insurance quote with rates from other companies. So you can save time on the research and can enjoy savings when you choose the best rate for you. Give it a try after this episode at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states and situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
We got this statement this week, and it's a joint statement from the FAA, the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and the Department of Defense saying, having closely examined the technical data and tips from concerned citizens, I didn't even want to think about the number of calls they got. We assess that the sightings to date include a combination of lawful commercial drones, hobbyist drones, and law enforcement drones, as well as manned fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, and stars, mistaken reportedly as drones. And I can feel the feds kind of saying everybody everybody calm down here. But I wonder what it says to you that these agencies have had to put out this statement saying that, this doesn't present a national security or public safety risk over the civilian airspace in New Jersey.
We're in a really interesting moment. People are seeing what they're seeing on the internet. They're seeing things that are either fabricated, misinterpreted, wholly false, and they're existing in an environment where there aren't as many trusted voices. There's been a significant amount of skepticism and downright mistrust infused into how we hear things. And that makes all of us, by the way, exhausted, because you're constantly having to evaluate, is what I'm seeing real? Can I trust this? Why should I trust this? And, it directly intersects with effectively the breakdown in our belief in institutions, whether it's at the FAA, whether it's, aircraft manufacturers, whether it's, professional sports leagues, whether it's politicians, organized religion, take your pick in terms of, where people are feeling like the trust that they used to have in telling them that everything was going to be okay, or that they could trust what they were seeing and hearing, or yes, the media, quote unquote. There's a bureaucratic element to this, which is how individual agencies within the government communicate with one another, how they respond seriously or unseriously to what they see online, and how people are responding to that, and whether or not they need to even weigh in on that, because in many ways you have a legitimization of people sort of looking up at the sky being like, oh my God, the sky is falling, right? And that becomes challenging in its own right to be in a democracy where you have a government and its institutions responding to what's going on in terms of people's backyards and what they're seeing and experiencing, but also not adding to whether it's hysteria or panic or the sort of endemic lack of trust that people have with what's going on around them. And so it's a really hard needle to thread.
Okay, but then I want to throw this one at you, because there have been some real things, which I think adds to this problem that you're talking about. So in October, a bunch of pilots at Langley Air Force Base reported being swarmed by drones for a couple of weeks. And the Pentagon was like, yeah, we don't really know what's going on. It feels like there are these moments when sometimes there is actual stuff up there. I hearken back to the Chinese spy balloon brouhaha, whether it's ours or someone else's, that adds a layer of secrecy and suspicion that makes it easy for someone to mistake, Orion's belt for a creepy satellite spying on them.
What's amazing is that we have access to so much information and expertise. We don't use it all the time or give it the respect it has earned. But all of this information proliferates. I can right now go into a feed inside X or Blue Sky and look at a collected group of accounts of open source intelligence reports. And a lot of these include, what's going on the battlefield in Ukraine, in Gaza, in Syria, all over the world where these real-time events are happening, and they're being captured by people on the ground and then shared obviously online. And it creates the sum total of a new almost pipeline of information that people never had access to before. There are very scary parts of where we are right now. And I count myself as someone who is of the belief that as trust has declined, to be trusted is the most incredible gift you can be given by either your audience, your readership, your subscribers, whatever. And so it's not something to be trifled with as trust has declined. But it also means that in a media environment where someone is sitting on the battlefield in Ukraine and uploading, first-person video drone attacks on a Russian convoy, for example, that allows you this ability to take advantage of these barriers that have become so low to just enter the information environment.
Well, you're making me think about the future, and it just makes me wonder, are people just gonna have to get ready to see a lot of stuff in the sky and not freak out every time?
The proliferation of drones and autonomous systems in the sky is only going to grow. And that's going to be in a civilian context. That's going to be in a military context. And, look, the war in Ukraine completely changed how the world thinks about warfare in the 21st century. The battlefield in Ukraine showed us that drones are going to be an integral part of that environment where effectively you can have not a quote unquote smart bomb, but literally someone flying a drone for under $500 a pop with a very improvised explosive on it and do a significant amount of damage. And there's not a lot you can do about that. What we're also seeing is the capability of actually being able to control these drone swarms in a really coordinated way, which is both incredible from a civilian perspective to see an alternative to a fireworks display, but also what that means for the battlefield of the future, or the battlefield of right now, actually. And so that is going to change how we see the sky and how the sky is used.
Jon Ostrower, thank you for being willing to come on and talk about this.
My pleasure.
Jon Ostrower is editor-in-chief of The Air Current. And that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Evan Campbell, Patrick Fort, and Shayna Roth. Special thanks to Ben Mathis-Lilly. Our show is edited by Paige Osborne, and Alicia Montgomery is vice president of audio for Slate. TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And just a heads up about that, our friends at What Next have a fun little holiday treat for all Slate Plus subscribers. Mary Harris decided we needed to cap off this year with a little karaoke party. My karaoke anthem is in there, so I recommend it. So if you're listening to this episode in the What Next TBD Plus feed, head on over to the regular What Next Plus feed to find today's bonus episode. And if you're not already a Slate Plus member and you want to join, which you should, you can do so directly within the Apple Podcast and Spotify apps, or head on over to slate.com/whatnextplus to get access wherever you listen. All right, we will be back on Sunday with another episode. I'm Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks so much for listening.
Hey, Slate listener. This is Mary Harris from over at What Next, Slate's daily news podcast. I'm here to remind you that at Slate, we are here to help you make sense of what comes next. With Slate Plus, you'll get unlimited access to the tools you need to navigate this moment. That includes exclusive episodes of Amicus, which unpacks the legal battles shaping our future, and Political Gabfest, where the biggest questions about our political landscape are tackled with depth and a sense of humor. Plus, you'll get ad-free listening across all your favorite Slate podcasts, including my show, What Next?, where I connect the dots on the day's headlines. It's really easy to join. Subscribe to Slate Plus directly in the Apple Podcasts app or on Spotify. You can also visit slate.com/podcastplus to get access wherever you listen. We've been here before. We can make sense of what comes next together.